he can make his word her word now. We're pledging to go to John and Carol's. And if she's like, no, I'm not interested, he's like, this is an oath that's going to afflict your soul because they're making liver and onions. Hey folks, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. That's right, I'm Joel, and guess what? You're never going to guess it. I'm reading Bible so that you don't have to. I'm reading all of Bible, every single verse, every single chapter, from the first book, Genesis, to the last book, Revelation or Revelations. Nobody really knows what it's called, but I'm reading the whole entire thing so that it's in context, finally. Can we stop? Can we stop reading the Bible out of context? Context is so important. So I'm reading the Bible, the whole thing, in context, going like, the reacting to it. Think reaction videos, but not for Pink Floyd songs, other things that are much more boring and less good, namely Bible. We are going to read hopefully a more entertaining chapter than the last two, which is Numbers chapter 30, the big 3-0, and then we only have 3 more to go before we're into the riveting, exciting book that is Deuteronomy. I can't wait to be in Deuteronomy, and this happens every time where I'm so sick of the book I'm in, and I just can't wait to be in the next one. And the Bible bamboozles me every time. They trick me, and they go, this one sucks too. They got me. Anyway, let's see what happens here in Numbers chapter 30. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing that which Yahweh has commanded. When a man vows a vow to Yahweh, or swears an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. Also, when a woman vows a vow to Yahweh and binds herself by a pledge, and being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears the vow and her pledge with which she has bonded her soul, and her father says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge with which she has bound her soul shall stand. But if her father forbids her in the day that he hears, none of her vows or her pledges with which she has bound her soul shall stand. Yahweh will forgive her because her father has forbidden her. Now, I know I read that in a silly accent, but I hope you guys have understood this. If a woman person, by the way, if a woman person makes a vow, a pledge with which she has bound her soul, okay? So she really means it. A vow, a pledge that she means with her whole being. Her dad can just be like, nah, I don't like it. No. Nope. Not going to happen. I forbid that. You're a woman. You remember you don't have any autonomy because God hates you. So even if you vow, even if you give a vow, like your whole being wants to give someone your vow or your pledge, you believe in something, you want to do it. Your dad can just be like, nah, you have a vagina. You're not doing that. You're not doing that vow. Sorry. Your vow doesn't belong to you. That's mine. I'm the man. So if anyone thinks that God doesn't hate women at this point, I mean, we also have the man a few chapters ago spitting in the woman's face. They can do that too. And maybe this would be the context for that, where it's like, Dad, I'm vowing to do this, and he's like, no, you're not. Spit in her face. And then she feels shame because, of course, you would never, when your dad spits in your face, you don't go, oh, that's screwed up. He's in the wrong. You wouldn't say that. You go, oh, I was wrong. What is the difference? Because it says here that like when a man vows a vow to Yahweh or swears an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. And that's it. He shall do according to, that's it. Like this is a stark contrast. The man does it, that's it. He's just going to do it. The woman says it, what? That doesn't belong to you. Your vow and your pledge doesn't belong to you. That belongs to your father. He can say no to that. And then you won't do it. And that's why Yahweh's forgiving you, by the way, is because you're not able to do the thing that you vowed to do. It's pretty gross, pretty disgusting. Sometimes we run into the problem where Paul said women shouldn't speak in church, and everyone's like, no, that was just for that church. Women don't have autonomy over their vows. Like they can't vow something and that's that. Like they can't hold to their own word. Like what do you have if you don't have your word? We know they don't have their bodies. They don't have their word now. What do they have? Do they have their freedom? No, they don't have that. How do we know God loves women and how he sees them as equal when they don't have anything? I'll tell you what they do have. If they don't have any other brothers, they have an inheritance. That is the best thing we've gotten for a woman in this book. God hates women. I wonder if it gets worse. If she has a husband, while her vows are on her, or the rash utterance of her lips with which she has bound her soul, and her husband hears it and says nothing to her in the day that he hears it, then her vow shall stand, and her pledges with which she has bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband forbids her in the day that he hears it, then he makes void her vow which is on her, and the rash utterance of her lips with which she has bound her soul. Yahweh will forgive her. I feel like this rash utterance thing is on the level of like women being shrill or not being able to control their emotions or these other like misogynistic sort of ideas, right? They're always just like making rash utterances. They're just like, oh yeah, I'll do that. It's just like, calm down. We're not going over their place for dinner, And by the way, if this is like women saying that they're going to go to someone's house for dinner when they don't know who else is going to be there, and they come home and they're like, I said that we were going to go to John and Carol's for dinner, and like if I were the husband and I don't want to be like, you guys are going to go like, oh, maybe he's a misogynist, I would be like, well, hold on, like I don't know if that vow should stand. Who's going to be there? Like, also, you said I'm going. Like, if you're vowing for me, that's not fair. I don't want to do that. But by the way, that feeling that I have where I'm like, I don't want her to vow for me, we should really be feeling that for her too, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to vow for her either. And also, if she does a vow for herself, nobody should be like, hey, you can't go to John and Carol's. But I vowed to. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. Well, that's rude. She's going to dinner with John and Carol. All right, if you don't want to go, that's on you, bro. But she's going. And to be honest with you, no, I'm not going. I refused. John is so boring. He's just so boring. Carol loves puzzles, and it's just like, I'm not going to sit there while John just yammers on and Carol does a puzzle and you guys are having a great conversation. You like it. Go do that then. But anyway, this is incredibly misogynistic. Now it's not just the daddy that has more control over a woman's vow, but it's the husband. It's weird because it's the same sort of repetition that we get from all the other things that are really boring. But when this happens, it just like gets you more infuriated. And I just want to drive the point home. But at this point, I'm just saying it over and over again, because the Bible's doing it over and over again. And it sucks because I wish there were more Christians who would watch these things or read this book and see that like this is just horrible. And if you, as a Christian, your first thing is to say, yeah, well, we're not under this law anymore, right? We're in the new law where women don't speak in church. No, wait, sometimes they can. It just depends if they, shut up. It doesn't matter though, because at a certain time, for thousands of years, women could not keep their word if a man told them that they couldn't. That's a huge deal. That's a huge, huge deal. It's a massive problem. And that's God. He doesn't care about women. But the vow of a widow or of her who is divorced, everything with which she has bound her soul shall stand against her. It sounds to me like if a woman's really passionate about one of her vows or pledges, she has to get divorced or kill her husband. I mean, if he's going to be like, no, you're not doing that. And she's like, oh, yes, I am, They're really setting themselves up at this point. They should be kinder to women because some men are going to go missing. It's also weird that, like, if she does a vow and she now has to live by that vow, it says, it shall stand against her. Whereas if a man does a vow, he's not to break his word and he'll do according to what he said. There's no against. It just feels like they've doing some negative reinforcement for the women. It's like, yeah, you're widowed or whatever, go ahead. But I mean, it'll stand against you. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that, young lady? Because it will stand against you at every turn. They just like, that one's more subtle in a chapter where it's screaming that God hates women. If she vowed in her husband's house or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and held his peace at her and didn't disallow her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge with which she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband made them null and void in the day that he heard them, then whatever proceeded out of her lips concerning her vows or concerning the bond of her soul shall not stand. We already got that. Her husband has made them void. Yahweh will forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband says nothing to her from the day to day, then he establishes all her vows or all her pledges which are on her. He has established them because he said nothing to her on the day that he heard them. But if he makes them null and void after he's heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. He gets some iniquity for what? Not fulfilling the oath, maybe? Is that what's going on? So this is just reiterating it like over and over again, as per Bible. But I think there's this other sort of thing, like her husband may establish it. Is he able to make an oath for her? I'm not sure. I don't know what her husband may establish it is supposed to mean. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it. He can make his word her word now. So it's not just that like she says something and he will veto it. He has veto powers. But now he can also be like, actually, this is the oath. We are oathing, we are pledging to go to John and Carol's. And if she's like, no, I'm not interested. He's like, yeah, well, this is an oath that's going to afflict your soul because they're making liver and onions. He now can make or break all the oaths, and she has no, believe it or not, and I don't know if you're getting that from this, agency or autonomy. She has neither of those two things. And that's just God, in his wisdom, his great wisdom. And the only reason why we know that women are equal now is because of progressive revelation. Like this was definitely God. This is true. This is accurate. This did happen. This is what he said. This is Moses saying that Yahweh said this. So, and that Moses isn't a liar. So Yahweh definitely said this, and this is true, but he definitely also sees women as equal because like God took the rib out of Adam's side So that would make, so when that happened, that is how we know that women are equal to men. They're not above. He didn't take the bone out of his foot, took it out of his ribs. So that's why they're equal. But he can certainly say like, no, you are not doing that, woman. I'm in charge. These are the statutes which Yahweh commanded Moses. So here we get a confirmation that Yahweh did command this to Moses. Between a man and his wife, between a father and his daughter, being in her youth in her father's house. So it's so funny that like there's such a ownership element, even in a verse like this. I don't know that I go over this book with a fine-tooth comb or anything like that. And I don't think I've mentioned this before, but you can find it like all the way along. You're never going to not see this type of wording, that we have the man. So the man is his own being. We have the man and the thing that belongs to him, his wife, right? So we don't have the man and a woman that he's married to. You have a man and his belonging. And then you have a father and his, possessive daughter. You would never be like a daughter and her father. It's the dad that's the main thing, the person, the human being that has autonomy, and then the property. And that's the way it always is. That's why you get like Noah and his wife and his sons and his sons' wives. And we know that we know the names of the sons. We don't know the name of the wife. We don't know the name of the sons' wives. We just know that that's their property. That's what they own, that they can make more babies with, more boy babies. So the headline of this chapter is God hates women. And that's loud and clear. And I think it's going to get worse in the next chapter, I have a feeling. So we'll see that then. Please subscribe, like this video, and leave me a comment. And we'll see you next time. Bye.